What's going on? Merry Christmas.
I bel Nah, I can still get away with saying Merry Christmas to you. I was gonna say a belated evening Merry
No,
Christmas.
no. There are still a couple hours to the night, and even if it's afterwards, you can still say Merry Christmas. It's
That's
it's
true.
fair. It's fair until like the next weekend.
It's kind of like saying Happy New Year like in the first week of February.
Right. Yeah. February 1st is the cutoff on that. Exactly. First time you see someone for the year or February 1st, whichever comes first.
Um, and Dea, what's up? And Dea says hello from St. John.
Hey there.
Uh, where do we get started? I guess we'll get started with. I don't want to get started with anything crazy like that bombing or that explosion in Nashville or police officers shooting people in Ohio. We don't want to start about that. Want to start, and don't even want to start with, to all the families that have lost loved ones, and there's almost 330,000 lives that have been lost due
Yeah.
to COVID-19. I know this holiday season is really rough on a lot of people, so I want to be cognizant of that. Um, how was your Christmas?
Christmas was very nice. You know, this is as the kids get older and spread their wings and go about their ways. The Christmas in the home tends to get a little smaller, but it wasn't quite that way this year. Because everyone, because of COVID, kind of the boys with the girlfriends, fiancés, those who were local stopped by. Linda can't not cook a meal for a big holiday. So she did that. And then we did Secret Santas and had, gifts, but there were no more than four people in the house at any given time. So we still kept it immediate family, kept it small, and had a good time. Had a good time. How was yours?
It was quiet. Um, didn't do the big meal. Made sure that Governor Cuomo wasn't peeking in the window or anything like that. So definitely kept it under 10 people.
Yep.
With immediate family, kind of like the same as with Thanksgiving.
Right.
We kept it there to that point and didn't go on any further. Even though that we wanted to, we just know that everything that's in play with, as I mentioned before, with, the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
virus, whatever you want to
Mm-hmm.
call it, like I said, lives being lost at an uncontrollable rate. So if the only thing we can do is to limit the amount of our exposure or limit the
Right.
amount of people that aren't in the home, usually in the home, that's what we did.
Right. I'm just going to take a half a step back
Okay.
and say rephrase that statement from uncontrollable rate to a rate which people just don't understand that they can control
Yeah,
because we
I agree with
can.
you. I agree with you. We can do it, but it just doesn't seem if when you look and you say the previous 4 days before Christmas, there were a million plus people traveling,
Right. Which is half of what it was last year.
which is half of what it was last year. Which is still a number that's going to be kind of scary because you had people on your favorite networks, whether it's
Yep.
Fox, MSNBC, CNN, talking about why they're deciding to travel
Right.
and co-signing why they're traveling
Right.
and mentioning that I'm just going to have hand sanitizer with me and thinking like I'm like you kind of question all of that.
I will never understand it. I mean, you get the human factor. I mean, someone who may live, half the country away from their loved ones, and this is one of those only times they get to see them. You feel for them. You know that they're like, it's just me. I'm just going to see mom and dad and sister, and I'm just going straight to their house. this would have been a year to say, I'm sorry, guys, we'll have to do the social media thing. We'll have to do the remote thing. Just skip it. And I mean, there's the flip side to that. Half the people did say, or maybe I guess this is the third, because last year's number was like half of what the normal number is.
Right.
So, it's good that a lot of people still listened. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna berate that, but still, it's like if you didn't have to, if it wasn't absolutely necessary, stay home, because we should have learned, right? We definitely had a bubble after Thanksgiving. Those are the numbers we're seeing going up starting like 2 weeks ago. We're going to get another bubble now, and
Right.
let's hope that there's no, New Year's Eve bubble. Which
I don't know what's scarier, the fact that we're seeing, I think there were about 6 or 7 days in a row there were 30, at least 3,100 people that were passing away, and the hospitalization rate was just increasing over 100,000, close to 100,000, 80,000, 119,000. That's
the number to watch. That hospitalization rate. That's the key indicator.
Hearing from local governors stating that, hey, we don't have any available beds.
Right.
But still, I need to have that party, or I need to have that get together, or that, I mean, the one thing we learned this past year, Zoom kind of changed the lives of tens of millions of people.
Sure.
It went from a $50 stock to almost a $500 stock.
Right. Insane.
So
now depends on Zoom.
It's crazy how, and I think what's most important, Rich, is when we do get past this, as you know it, and as I also know it, the world has changed.
Right.
The world has changed. People will conduct business differently.
Yep.
If I had to go take a flight to go have a meeting with someone in Texas or in Boston, we could do that over video conference.
Yep. I mean, to a major extent, those days were already numbered. The days of, like you just said, I got to have a meeting on the other, in the middle of the country. Let me take a quick flight over there. Those days were already done. Teleconferencing, the Zooms, the go-to meetings, all the remote tools have been available and have been getting used by the business community at large. This really just made everyone realize, we don't, for so many businesses, we don't need to have everyone in the office for the day-to-day work. The traveling, that was already getting cut back. But they now realize the day-to-day can be done with a largely remote force, and business can go on normally. And I think that's where we're going to see the biggest difference.
Was there anything, and I want to be cognizant of this, was there anything that you missed this year after going through this past 9 months? Was there anything that, was there anything that you experienced this year that you said could potentially carry over when we, go back to a somewhat normal type life in second or maybe third or fourth quarter of 21?
The remote work. I don't see the need, and we work together. Right. I don't see the need for us to be in the office 5 days a week anymore.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely a couple of days a week, sure, because of the nature of what we specifically do. We are, in my case, we're both the end user support, and we've got to be there to show face. But we also have good teams that work with us and work for us. So that need no more, which of course, that's going to have an effect on the mass transit, the railroads, fares. They're not going to be collecting as much revenue. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, what their reporting is, in another year, 2 years, if how much of a bounce back they get. But I think that's the biggest thing. Remote, we can do And I believe the administration will see it, that a lot of this work can be done remote now. And, businesses in general, I think you're going to see a lot of real estate becoming available because, again, like I was saying, people aren't going to need to be there.
I remember like years ago, from listening to NPR, and the talk was, and it was kind of like just before bring your own computer, bring your own device, where It was kind of like, hey, bring your own computer. Here's the software that you're going to download. Here's your soft phone software. You're bringing your own laptop. You're a consultant, and you're going to work wherever.
Right.
And we're seeing where people or employers would turn, some employers would frown upon remote work,
right,
and questioning whether or not you're actually doing work versus today where it was a necessity, for the past 9 months. So, but the one thing I will tell you is there was nothing better than being able to go to a restaurant, drive right up, sit in the car, someone comes out, identifies who you are, and then they run back in and boom. So you save on the DoorDash rates, you're pulling up to the restaurant, you're getting whatever you need to get, you're ordering food for the family, whatever like that, and you never even had to leave the car.
Right. That'll be another thing. I think that'll be the industry that has a pretty significant bounce back. The restaurant industry, people like to go out to eat.
Yes.
And everyone does miss that. So I think they'll take a nice bump when things return to a little bit of normalcy. Something else along the lines of what you're saying, remote workers. It was one of the things where, the mindset of employers also had to change a little bit because, at one point it was kind of like what you were saying. You claim to be a remote worker, but how do I know how much work you're doing? I mean, right. I know the work is getting done, but how do I know you're sitting there 8 hours a day in front of your computer or doing whatever? When this should kind of be a lesson, like, if the work is getting done, your person doesn't necessarily have to sit in front of their computer from 9 to 5, unless, they're doing call support, something like that.
Right.
Because that's the other thing. We all know that, your hours may be 9 to 5, but you're sitting there doing something at 6, 7. Okay, maybe you didn't start till 9:30 fully, but you're still checking in. You're still online. You're still doing less restrictive hours because it is easier, of course, to be home and be right there and working. And then on the flip side of that also is, the industries that have gone over to remote workforce, they do still have this, policies and methods in place to manage those who are working from home. And like my sons work for a major insurance company, and they base benefits, bonuses, and they rate them. If your rating number was below a certain point these last few months, then clearly you can't work from home. And they started actually pulling people in limited numbers into offices and not giving them bonuses because, all right, you've just shown that you can't work from home. So, it'll filter some people out. And again, you do have to have some self-discipline to work from home. It's not like everyone can just do it, sit around and actually get the work done the way they may do so in an office environment.
That's true. The one thing I won't miss is the 2+ hours a day in commuting time that we lost every day for the last, 5, 10, years. 12, 20, whatever years.
Yep.
That you've been commuting wherever you are, whether you commute in your car, you commute in mass transit.
Yep.
To being able to get in there, perform whatever task you're going to perform, attend whatever meetings, provide whatever work, people know what level of work they have to do. And if they can do it, I mean, I think of doctors with the telework, with the telehealth. that totally open. And it was so strange because prior to this, it was like maybe in 2018, I was working with a company for a short-term project on like a teledoc type style service. And just to know that it's part of your everyday life right now.
Right.
I mean, just to think about it, hey, I mean, granted, you're going to have to pay whatever copay you would usually pay, and you might pay a slightly more, but you can then turn around and get your medication, whatever prescriptions you can. So I think we've learned quite a lot, not only from a health perspective, but the way of doing business. I mean, I said to my wife that there can never be another snow day for Department of Ed or as as if you were a student. That doesn't exist anymore now that Zoom is part of that mainstay.
Yep. And that's funny you mentioned that. We had that big snowstorm a few days ago, and some school districts said, all right, it's a remote learning day. And then other school districts did declare it a snow day. And I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, well, you don't need to have snow days anymore, because there's no reason why the remote factor shouldn't be just a normal part of curriculum and teaching going forward. And that's it. Students can get a day of education, and regardless of what's going on with the weather.
I mean, if you think about it, I look from my sons, learning from the previous semester last year to this semester, where it's kind of like hybrid now, and all the work is in Google Classroom.
Right.
All the work is up there. It's preloaded at the start, at the start of the morning, and you're running through. You're doing your class activities, and then from there you're doing your homework, and you're uploading it back. And I'm like, yeah, they've basically turned education into like fast food.
Right.
I'm sure the educators will take a swipe for at me for saying something like that, but
let's face it, this is the logical progression anyway. But sure, I'm sure there have been studies before, but now there's more reason, even more so reason to do them, just to compare the quality of education in the remote versus the in place in class environment. Because I mean, sure, there are some students who it just doesn't work for, and some need to have that hand holding or need to have that teacher right there in front of them, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And there's of course others that thrive in just a full remote, just give them the assignment, see the teacher on the screen, ask the questions that way, and go there. But it'll be interesting to see, just over the next 5-10 years, what impact this entire change in education has on students as they're moving forward, moving up, and then even when they get into the business world, if we see some kind of ripple effect off of this.
So, just to move really quickly to a couple other topics. I don't know if you've been following the NBA. The NBA is back. So one player I want to talk about in particular, James Harden. And it's kind of bittersweet because he's such a great player, but the type of behavior that he's showing, being at events where kind of, when your boss, which is the NBA, is paying you $40 million a season, and they're saying, hey, you got to limit your extracurricular activity, and he winds up at a strip club, like every other night. He likes to frequent them.
Right. Before
games, after games, on his off day. And, hey, if it works for him, then it works for him. But when you're endangering the rest of your team, and like last night, they had to cancel the game because they couldn't dress 8 players.
Wow.
Yeah, because certain people had been in not contact with him, but in contact with another player
Right.
that was, close by to someone else that tested positive. So it's like a real messy situation.
But wait, weren't these guys living in a bubble basically that was supposed to have been segmented from the outside world?
Last season they were. This
Right.
season it's back to normal. They're playing in their
In their
locales,
normal arenas and everything.
normal arenas. The 6 arenas that are going to have fans, limited fans, probably like nothing more than 5,000 fans, per arena of those 6 teams. But I don't know, he just doesn't get it. I know he wants to get traded, but there's ways to do things. There's ways not to. And I think for the most part, the team learned how he was handling this because they offered him, Rich, 2 years, $100 million extension,
Good
which
Lord.
equals out to 50 mil per season. And he said, no, thank you.
That's just someone that doesn't want to be there. Period.
To, to,
I can't comprehend that myself.
to play 82 basketball games in the regular season, and knowing that they don't play anything more than 70 because they're going to sit out, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. I don't know. It's to me not a good look every which way. Yeah, there's so many different ways we could be doing this.
Yeah, I mean there's so many different levels of that. The whole I gotta go to I like to go to the strip clubs and I'm going to expose myself, my teammates, and the other team players, and that's just reckless. And then
Yeah,
what do you do when people start getting sick? I mean, you guys are all, young, strong, healthy men, and yeah, the honest fact is probably the majority of them would just bounce back, get a cough, get some sore muscles for a couple of days, and be on the merry way. But you can't control what's going to happen down the line. You give it to a guy who gives it to his wife, who passes it on to her parents, who are
right,
in their 60s, 70s, and they get seriously ill. Then what do you do? What do you say? Or you may not ever
right.
find out about it because of the delay between transmission and viral load and coming down and getting ill. So I don't get that at all. That doesn't make any sense.
Rich, I will say one thing. Probably last topic is gaming crushed 2020. The video game industry dominated entertainment in 2020. Gaming revenue registered $180 billion this year, up 20% year over year. Compare that to the $100 billion movie industry
Mm-hmm.
and $75 billion from the major sports leagues. But Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft got all the attention. Walmart and Amazon can't keep the PS5 or Xbox in stock.
I know.
And the Nintendo Switch sales grew 80% from April to September.
Everyone's home. And the gaming machine is no longer just the gaming machine. It could be the center of your entertainment system. So it's a core piece of media now. And yeah, sure. I mean, hey, I know I'm still trying to get my Xbox Series X. I cannot get a hold of one. Been trying, but I will eventually, I hope.
Rich, if you were a bot, you would be able to get it.
This is true, but I am not a bot.
I got to tell you, the level of frustration where it's different if it was like 20 years ago and the Air Jordan 9s were coming out and they say, hey, we only made, 5,000 pairs and they're
Right,
spread across the United States.
right.
This stuff with the Xbox and with the PS5, beyond annoying for parents this year.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Something like this, it should be available in abundance.
You would think. I mean, they're both pretty much claiming the same thing. One, the demand was higher, but more they're saying that supply chain was just affected by COVID. And the plans for this were a year and a half ago. This isn't like they had just planned on this. So everything was all the distribution was built upon what the situation was a year ago, which was not what we have now. So that's what they're claiming. But I would also have thought by now you could start catching up on that. But I don't know how much manufacturing, in China and wherever everything is being made is being affected because COVID is worldwide. So maybe they do have manufacturing supply issues. It's highly possible.
The sites that you go to, I go to like PS5. It's a Twitter account that I follow.
Mm-hmm.
And when it is available, you have to go drive to go pick it up.
Right. Yeah.
You just don't have the capacity to get it to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I found myself hedging whether or not to drive to Mount Vernon to go pick up an Xbox X. And I'm like, what?
I would have made that drive, sure.
I looked at it and I said, nah, you know what? And it's like, hey, you pick it up from Mount Vernon on the 3rd of January.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, it's just painful for the parents, because I'm sure, a lot of them sitting there scrambling, and they were used to being able to walk into a store,
yep,
swipe their card, get their gaming system, and walk out.
Yep. Or go to Amazon or Best Buy or wherever, click add to cart, there it is, and it'll be at my door in a couple of days.
Right. You know what they did? They we got to the point of you go into, you find a site that you can purchase the device from. Right. You go in there, it tells you, okay, wait here for X amount of time, and then we'll chime and let you know when you can select that you want to, purchase the item, because I guess this is their way of fighting against the bots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the PS5 Direct site. It's like, it's ridiculous. It just shouldn't be what it was, is what I'm saying.
It shouldn't be what it still is, because you still. Yeah. I'm not expecting to get mine for a month.
Right.
And
but you're good with that. You're not a teenager. You're not a preteen.
Right. That's true. No, I'm not good with it. Sure. This big TV that I bought a month ago.
Right.
Has no Blu-ray player or anything. Yes, I still use Blu-rays because the quality is the best. But they were attached to it. And it's streaming everything, but I want to play my games now. Thank you.
Gotcha.
I got something for you.
What do you got for me?
Movies. So, Wonder Woman 1984. It's out. HBO Max.
Yes.
We said, let's all sit down, the four of us, and watch this for Christmas dinner or after Christmas dinner. No spoilers. Not going to give anything away.
Is it too early?
Yeah, just a little too early, right?
Is it too early?
A little too early. Follows the path of good old DC, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. In a bad way?
In a bad way. It's way too long. Over 2.5 hours. Story seems to be kind of all over the place. Especially, we don't even need to talk about special effects anymore. The effects are fine. Well, the effects are okay. They're even when, she's running and doing her superhero type things where it's like, this could have looked a little better. Disappointed. Linda fell asleep halfway through it. Rob and his girl, he was here. He got up and walked out before it was like, went to do other things. She was looking at her phone. I stayed with it just to stay with it.
Can
much better.
Can you talk about one of the villains, Pedro Pascal, from
Mandalorian.
Mandalorian?
Yeah.
This is his season.
This is
Was it a waste?
it. Yeah.
Or was
I mean, he played his part, but there was no body to the part. Sure, he's the bad guy. He's doing what he's doing. I never felt invested in it.
okay?
And the whole storyline is shaky. At some point, you're like, well, why is the Wonder Woman character really involved in this in the first place from the beginning? and just the whole premise is just off. Sorry, this is I always like to have them. Same thing again. I buy Blu-rays and have a library so I can go watch things anytime. I will not be buying this. I don't think I'll ever even watch it again.
I will tell you, the post-credit scene was the best part of the movie.
You saw it?
I saw it. I saw it today.
Okay.
I saw it today, but I said to myself,
you agree with me?
I was like, where are we going with this?
Right, so
where are we going with this? And number two was the post-credit scene was the best part of it.
It was. So the opening scene, that first, what was it, 10 minutes maybe? I enjoyed that. That was okay. Just for the action and the running around and blah blah blah. Little Diana. That was fine. No problem with that. That's where it all came apart from there on. But yeah, hey, you're right. The special scene at the end credit scene, which I almost skipped, and I said, "Wait a second."
No, I
didn't know about it.
I didn't know about it either. I was kind of avoiding the spoilers for WW84. That was the best part. Was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was nice. So yeah, that's all I got to say there. What you should see, and I think I mentioned this offline in one of our many other conversations, on Netflix. Jon Favreau has he's got a movie and a series. The movie is called Chef. Hour and a half long, feel good story, but it's he stars in it, he directed it, he's a producer. Good, just really good, entertaining film. I definitely say watch that over the holidays. And he's got a series about chefs and actual cooking, and some of the chefs that taught him how to cook for the movie and taught him techniques for the movie are the ones that he interviews and works with in this series. Great series. Definitely say you should watch that.
Do you want to give us the panoramic view of the Christmas tree?
You mean the Christmas trees? So as I've said,
Christmas trees.
My wife has a Christmas tree issue, so I'm sitting in the Christmas room in the basement, which used to be the studio, which will get turned back into a studio in a few weeks. So yeah, this is. Of course, I can't see what you see.
I can see it.
The room. So what do we have in here? 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 trees of one size or another in here. But yeah, this was the room. But I mean, it was nice because we had all the gifts in here for the little ones and the boys and the girls, and came by. So it was still festive. It was Christmassy. It was enjoyable. But yeah, there are 28 or 29 trees around here.
28 or 29 trees.
Yes.
Yeah, you have enough trees.
They only be this big, but yeah, some are this
for the entire neighborhood.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Oh man. Well, we're gonna wrap it up here, Rich. Hey, I want to give a big shout out to Haps. Haps offers world-class broadcasting tools, a community eager to collaborate, and a simple way for viewers to support creators financially. Just go to haps.tv, create an account, And big shout out to our friends at 1240 AM WGBB. They've, as always, been reaching out to us, give us holiday shout outs.
Nice.
So to Mr. Lowe and Brian and the rest of the crew, want to say what's up to you guys. So what's on the horizon for the remainder of the weekend?
Nothing that I can think of.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, we've got nothing planned. This is going to be the let's keep it Christmas break, relax, try not to get involved in too much. And I'll try to catch up on some movies. Try to catch
Okay.
streaming. That's the biggest thing I'll be doing. It's too cold to really do anything else outside.
Gotcha.
Are you doing anything?
Nothing at all.
Nice.
Nothing at all. Richie B, the best way to get in contact with you?
I'm still on Twitter, Late Night Rich.
And I am the real Ted Hicks, and we are out.
Have a great week, everyone.